Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. Thank you guys for tuning in. We are having another wonderful episode of addressing military culture. Right? We just talking about military culture. We just doing it again today. We're having an insightful conversation. We want to thank everyone who is joining us in the live community. Also, you can come back and check us out. Hashtag replay. We're also on my YouTube channel, Carl Shawn Watkins Consultant. We also on my Facebook group as well. We want to thank all of you guys that are tuning in. Please drop in the comments where you're tuning in from. Join the discussion. Join in on us. Join the dialogue. We definitely want to hear from you. We definitely want to hear your perspective. And we definitely do go back and check the hashtag replay people so we can engage with you, make connections, build relationships, and continue addressing the military culture. Yes, this is a show about addressing just the culture of the military. We don't address it negatively, we don't address it positively. We put our own perspective of our own military service and what we've been through, and we talk about it in a perspective that's understandable to those that's watching. So, anything that you want to tag in on, we appreciate you being here, and we can't do it without you. Of course, I got my phenomenal people that I run with, my military vets that are on the show with me today, and I got a guest military active gentleman on today. He told me in our Zoom that we needed a Marine to represent. So we went and got us a Marine today to join us. I'm gonna bring in my man Charlson. What's up? You guys know him. U.S. Air Force vet. Bring in my man Jeff Clark, also the Air Force vet. And I'm adding my man Rob to the spin today. Rob, Rob say we need a Marine man to come. I had a Marine tell me the other day, say, man, we always got to clean up for you guys. So I don't know. Me being an Army guy, I mean, the Air Force tell us they got to clean up after us. The Marines tell us they got to clean this. I guess the Army do, man. We just hanging back, right? We just hanging back, man. But I appreciate you guys joining in, man, today, man. We gonna talk, just talk a little bit, man, about what we our purpose, man. When we are in the service, right? Our purpose is kind of like even if we never had that before we got in and the crust of basic training and what they teach, and I call it a breakdown and rebuild because this is exactly what they do when you come in there. They're breaking down all of the nonsense of what your life was, if you could put it like that, right? Before you come to them. And they're gonna put you in this capacity of being a soldier. So that's why I says to break down to build up. But in a lot of that, we find purpose. A purpose is given to us. We find ourselves with connection to our brethren in the armed forces and other services. We find this deep love and passion, and we find these purposes, and we do this for the course of our military careers, whether they be short. I knew a few people that only did their 3 years and got out, and I've known some that's making it careers 20, 30 years. All right, but the struggle comes after that rudimentary purpose and passion has left, and we have a lot of guys that's getting out and such as myself, I had to try to find something else to do, right? Because I was an M1 tanker. And my basic training in AIT was all fortified on hand to hand combat, how to shoot a 45 as my sidearm, and how to maintain and tear apart that M1 tank, right? I do think I could have been a mechanic. Wasn't my thing. I didn't like working on the tank, so I wasn't working on cars. But I mean, transferably, the only skills I had was just leading men and telling them what to do. Right? I didn't have a capacity of a boardroom. I didn't have a capacity of corporate skills, and there was some hard transitions that I had to go through when I came out of the military. But now they got so many things out. And mind you, I came out in '90, so it was quite a while ago. But they have so many things now that people are trying to do and help in places where these veterans can go. But we're just going to talk about even finding a purpose because they have all these avenues. But a lot of times when they come out, if there's not the PTSD that goes on or the mental health issues that goes on, or those kind of obstacles that's in the way, a lot of time vets lose their passion and purpose. And we're just going to talk about that today, man. So we got Charlson, Jeff, and Rob, man. Charlson, we're gonna begin with you, man. Talk about a little bit about that your first of all your passions and how did you kind of find that in your military service? Because everybody's kind of different, even though we're along the same funnel of what our missions were, but everybody's different in their own personal perspective of how they found their passion and some of the things you think we need to be doing now to kind of help these vets to reignite that fire, man, that they've been missing.
Well, for me, I'm Charlson Gaines. I'm the emotional intelligence life coach. And for me, my focus really is mental health. And it actually started when I was in the military. I was in the Air Force, and really what I'm about to say, I believe really anyone can say that spent, I'd say minimum 10 years in the military, right? Is that I've lost a lot of people to suicide, a couple to murder suicides, right? And you're just like, yeah, I'm doing my job. I was intel and I could brief about enemy threats and so on. But I've never had a coworker, who was killed by the enemy. And that's partly because, I was not an infantry unit or anything like that. However, I did lose coworkers to suicide. And then after I left the Air Force, I spent some time trying different things, but I came back to the mental health space, working in sexual assault prevention and response, and then working in suicide prevention. And what I noticed was that the suicide prevention programs and the mental health programs, they're just not doing what they're supposed to do. you know, like what's going on, Rob?
I'm you pushed a button. I'm getting out, which I love the Marine Corps, and I understand that I'm automatically disqualified. But I am bipolar 1, and I want to wipe my butt with our mental health system.
Yes. You know, I'm glad you mentioned that. I was just looking at this article. That's why I've been looking down at my phone, because it says that the Pentagon had set it up so that by the end of 2018, everyone who leaves the military, 100% are supposed to be screened for suicide risk. And it's saying that right here, it says in 2019 and 2020, the numbers are right around 30%. But people's risk of dying by suicide triples after leaving the military. So if we're not getting the help we need while we're in the military, yeah, who has our back after transition?
That's a good take, man. And just you segue to that. Rob, you chomping at the bit here. I'm gonna let you go before Jeff, man. And um, because we're talking about this transition, we're talking about this passion, and there's a lot of obstacles and things that prohibit, so to speak, us from being re-engaged. And you mentioned the mental health aspect of that, because a lot of times that mental health shifts. A lot of times, if not majority of the time, when you come out, because your mental is so fine tuned in the military, right? It's so defined based upon your mission, based upon even your duty station, your own separate duties. And that's not to even go with if you're leading, and most of you guys have led in the military. So I tell people that if you lead in the military, there's no way in the world that you can't lead in corporate. And when I mean that, I don't mean that it's a dynamic of what we're leading. I'm talking about with the coreness of leading. Now, I give the military definitely kudos for that in its own, because that leadership structure is sound based upon passing it on and giving it to the next person, right? Now, it's how it's divvied out, it's who divvies it out, is where we most of the time find problems in. But the culture of what it is, as you as a sergeant, you as a staff sergeant, whatever your rank may be, and you're leading men, that picture is kind of clear of what you want your men to go. But we often fall in the dynamic of saying that he's a rotten apple trying to tell me these things, or he's someone that's not doing it the way that it should be done, and those things. But Rob, when you think about those obstacles and finding the purpose, even in your mental health state of moving forward, how you kind of dealt with that, even though you're still active? How have you kind of helped others that have gotten out in front of you, or me you've led that's dealing with these same issues?
So 3 months ago, I had zero purpose. I love drink Marine Corps Kool-Aid, rah, rah, rah. Which reminds me, I just got to correct you real quick. We're Marines. We're not soldiers. I love you and I respect you having me on your show, but we are Marines. But because especially dealing with the bipolar, I was in a dark, dark place. I had no purpose. And then I was like, God gave me a gift. I put it out there. I'm spiritual, so I'm not here to try to do a religious battle, especially if you see my stuff. I'm a little unique in my style on LinkedIn. But I didn't have a purpose. And then I was like, well, I've been a comedian. I've been an outstanding recruiter. And for some reason I can screen like I did with you, Carl. You remember the interview. Charleston, you like how I already put out that you're intel, right? I can quickly view your profile and I already break the wall down. So I created Operation LinkedIn. And it doesn't have to be just military. It is you helping others that are going through the struggle. Like we'll take the great Mike Quinn, right? And he has the breakdown of your LinkedIn profile. Is that for military only? He's public. So you're Susie on the street and you're on the struggle bus trying to figure out your stuff. Well, now I can send you to Mike Quinn. You're welcome. We're here to serve you in uniform and after uniform. Not only that, that sells us and continues because recruiters are on the street suffering because of conversations like this, because the 18-year-old's watching this and it's like, man, I'm not gonna have a purpose after 4 years. Hey, bring it, young kid. I'll show you have purpose while you're in the Marine Corps and when you're out of the Marine Corps or whatever branch you are. And just like some of these guys that are sitting down, they're used to it in the chair force, but I've got much love for them because my dad was in the Air Force.
All right. See, you see Jeff Robb bring the fire, right? That's why they walk around saying "hoorah," right? They bring they bring the fire. But Jeff, man, on your perspective of that passion and that finding, what were some of the things that you've done, man? Because you got your leadership business, man. You've even wrote leadership and led in leadership, man. You got courses, you got trainings, you've done workshops, you've done the whole nine in that gamut, man. On the civilian side and on the military side, what are some of the things that you've seen that have been maybe some pitfalls for soldiers really finding passion? Not that purpose is maybe lost, but they've lost the identity of what their purpose is after they've gotten out the military and tried to make those transitions.
Well, I think from what I've seen, a big part of it is taking a uniform off is a completely different monster. People don't, you have an idea of what it's going to be like, and then what it actually is a lot different. And it's a lot more of a sucker punch and kind of a punch to the face that you weren't expecting. It hits a lot harder home, regardless of what you do in the military. I've even talked to pilots who went from flying a fighter jet to flying at Southwest Airlines, within a day. And even for them, the culture, the processes, and all that, it's been different, and how they prepare, how they fly, how they do post, flight and all that stuff. So I think the biggest thing has been expectation management and sticking together. So there's so many veterans like us. I've been out for 5 years now. I've learned a ton of things, but when we get out, we tend to think, oh, I'll get my resume ready. I'll do all the things that check the boxes, and then I'll get a job. Well, and then you start to have rejections like all of us have. And then you kind of go, I don't understand. Reach out to fellow veterans. Like, don't be afraid to open that door and knock on that door, ring the doorbell, because oh, I don't know him, so, why should I reach out to him? It doesn't matter. You're a veteran, I'm a veteran. It doesn't matter what service we were in. Do you need help? I have knowledge. I can help you. I can point you to Vets to Industry, Veterati, Higher Military, Operation LinkedIn that Rob's doing, all these different things. I can point you in that direction. I can point you to Charlson and say, hey, I know he's got information. I can make that connection. So don't think just because you're new to the game and not wearing the uniform anymore that you're a rookie in the space. No, you're very welcome. There's tons of veterans out there that want to talk to you. I want to give you my time and give you my knowledge. All you have to do is ask. So don't be afraid to ask, because I think that is a huge part of the transition is finding help, but find help in the most familiar of location, and that's your fellow veterans.
Yeah, that's definitely it. And I thought about it. Me, I'm always bringing out some terms of endearment. Thanks a lot, Hollis, and that's a quotable right there. Carl, that summarizes anyone changing careers, and especially our veterans, because a lot of it. And I know that we're talking about it in the essence of the transition and finding purpose, and that's why I want to keep it in the totality of purpose, because there's so many things involved here, right? You said something that was great, Jeff, that I really wanted to kind of like piggyback on and go that direction. When you're transitioning, everybody equate that transition such as a retirement from Fortune 500 company, right? When we look at a soldier ETS and the getting out, a lot of times on the outside, people that don't know the culture of the military them coming out or them retiring or them. It's not like you leave in 25 years, you're getting the gold pin or watch or whatever they give you in these corporations, and then you trying to figure out what golf course I'm gonna go with, or go down there and hang out with Charlson. He told me it's 80 degrees down there. We got 16 inches of snow this past weekend, so I'm highly upset and jealous with him. But you can't have these opportunities that you leave out and say, "Oh man, I got to figure out what golf course I'm gonna do." I done 30 years at this company. When you come out the military with the wildness that you are as whatever service or branch you're in, there's a differentness of you saying, I'm not doing that anymore. I liken it a lot into an athlete. You done went and played Pop Warner football all your life, and you played middle league, and you done played high school and college, and if you were good enough, you made it to the pros. We're talking about majority of times more than all of your life, you have been doing this sort of thing. So I hear and I got a couple of athletes that I'm working with now, and they talk about the struggle of them not getting up in the morning no more, going through their routine. It's like it was okay the first couple of days because the body needs to rest, right? But now they're just like going crazy, man. So I wanted us to talk on these topics. I got these topics that I want us to talk about, and I want to get you guys' perspective on that. And you guys just chiming in. Thank you guys so much, Amanda. Thank you so much for coming in again. A blessing as always, Alexandra. Appreciate you showing up. Garen, to you as well, my friend. Thank you guys for showing up. You guys drop in the comments your perspective as well, because we're talking about transition. And though this is military culture we're addressing, we are talking about did we lose Jeff. Jeff, I know you'll be back in, buddy. We're talking about those kind of things, but I wanted us to talk about and highlight some of these things. Finding your focus. Jeff had mentioned a few things, and Rob, how do you kind of like put that together where you finding your focus? Like, speak on that a little bit of once the transition has taken place, and you have people like, okay, what am I going to do, or the nervousness about, the next step. What are some of the things that you propose that people do to find their focus coming out or transitioning? Even though you haven't done that, I know people have, and you're working with people who aren't. So give me a little bit on that, man.
Okay, so I'm not promoting the Marine Corps. All of us can do it in the military, but I'm Marine Corps blood, so my attitude about it. And so for me to find focus, I'm in the darkest holes, the fighting hole, and I don't have focus. I don't know what I'm doing for a job, and I kind of go back to my own talents. And I'm listening to you guys, like, you've been out for 5 years. You said your thing about the Pentagon, right? And I'm like, the top level's trying to help us, but they don't know ground level. It's just like when we were at combat. You're saying what we need in Iraq, but you're in your office and you're not ground level with us getting shot at. So what I did is decide to have focus because my dad's a 20-year Air Force veteran. I am not here today if it was not for you gentlemen. I am not that cocky. So when I hear you struggling, that hurts me. When I've got a kid that I put in as a recruiter and he's 22 and he said that he put a pistol in his mouth because we didn't prepare him for on the way out, now you sent daddy off. So, and the other benefit is I was a staff sergeant. I didn't play well with others, and I became a sergeant again. So I have crossed both paths. And leaving here as a sergeant, I'm more in touch with the younger kids. So that focus is getting them like, Carlton's got some great stuff. So what's going to happen, just because this is how networking goes, in my style, drop the comments. It is 2022. Drop the comments that you have issues with in transitioning. And I, or you guys, we can do it with our own audiences, we'll screenshot it, welcome to 2022, and actually make a change. Because we can have all the conversations behind closed doors and people are scared to speak. But if you got that 18 to 22-year-old saying, man, this sucks, I'm struggling, I thought about suicide, and you screenshot, you know how much marketing the military is about. And they don't want anything negative. And I don't want anything negative for them either. But that's going to cause more change than senior leaders having a conference call with each other and being out of touch with that kid that's getting out in 4 years and he can't relate. He doesn't even want to jump on your live. General so-and-so and General so-and-so is having a call about transition. Well, I'm Corporal Schmuckatelli, man. I didn't talk to the general when I was in. So it's bringing those audiences in together. That's why I go on TikTok. So catch me on TikTok. How about that? I learned TikTok is TT from the kids. But it's bringing that audience to you guys because you guys have the knowledge way more than even I do, especially if you're Air Force, your GT scores are way higher than a Marine. Muscles are required, intelligence not essential. So I am here to produce them to you guys.
Man, Rob is breaking it down for us, man. When you think about that, Jeff, and finding your focus, man, what are some of the things that you kind of like highlight in the essence for for finding your focus and getting yourself reeled in as to what you want to do next?
Well, I think it's having an open mind. When I first got out, I sold beer. I sold beer for 4 months. And I have a master's degree. And I had 12 years of experience in logistics. I had corporate knowledge of the pharmaceutical industry. I could have walked, if I wanted to move, I could have walked into probably $100,000 job. I didn't know if I wanted to continue to do logistics and financial management and all that. I just didn't know if I wanted to or not, and that's fine. So I took a job that I had available, and I put money, in the bank account. I put food on the table while I thought about what I wanted to do. And I had some friends back at the base, and so government jobs were coming open that were kind of in my wheelhouse. And I just said, I'm going to take the time and do it right. If I want to move over to something else, if I want to pivot over to something else, I'm going to take the time and do it right. I'm going to reach out to my friends, reach out to other people and say, hey, can you help me with my government resume? Can you give me a heads up when something's coming up? Can you drop my name to your boss? I did those things and I let it come to me. So I took the time. If you don't want to work on tanks anymore, you don't want to go work for Boeing and help them build tanks or airplanes or whatever you want to do. You don't want to do private security because that's one of the few things that, an infantryman can go into. That's fine. But don't set it off to the side and say, I'm not going to do it anymore. Maybe go do it while you're working on something else, while you're building up your resume and building up things that you need. So you want to find your focus, have an open mind and let it come in. Take your time building your focus. You don't have to rush into it.
Awesome. Charlson, what you got for us, man? Finding that focus, man. There's so many ways that we can do that, and there's so many resources. Because I just remember, and Robert made a good point when you're talking about getting there. He made an excellent point. All actuality, and it's something that is across cultures, not just military. We have a lot of people. We have a lot of people that sit in the upper levels. You know what I mean? Have discussions about what's going on in the lower levels, but they have not done the lower levels, or if they've done the lower levels, they've been out of touch for so long that they don't even realize that what they're talking about don't even happen down there no more. And a lot of times we find this in all cultures. I mean, we just happen to be talking about in this military realm, but we find that in all cultures, man. What are some of the ways that we could take what we're talking about as our discussion wise? And that was another great point that Rob made. We have these discussions to open that dialogue because the dialogue is necessary. Uh, the action is definitely behind that necessary, but we've in a culture, just worldwide society that we were talking about beforehand, that we've lost the power to agree to disagree. So when that power has been gone, how do we move the dialogue to action? Because we can't even agree on the dialogue. So how do we find the focus to agree on the dialogue to actually get the actionable steps? This is why these businesses, these entrepreneurs are really hitting the mark because they said, okay, we got stuff set up here for you to do. How are we trying to find that focus, also for these communities to go past? Oh man, I can't even agree on if it's red or blue.
See, for me, that's why I focus on emotional intelligence, and even what you're talking about now with getting community leaders or high ranking military people to come up with new plans and programs. Finding your focus is about you. It's your focus. And when I talk about emotional intelligence, I'm talking about the first domain, the foundation, self-awareness. You can ask these airmen, what are your values? And what will they tell you? Integrity first, service before self, excellence in all we do. So, okay, did you have any values before you went to basic training? What are your values? What's important to you? And they often don't know. What do you love to do? Well, I do cybersecurity. That's not what I asked you.
Yeah, there you go.
It's who are you? I'm calm. No, you're not. And so that's the self-awareness piece. Who am I? What are my values? What do I love to do? How do I align those things so that I can work in my purpose and my passion? And then when we're talking about working in your purpose or your passion, understand that the world doesn't owe you that. it's not like when you retire, there's a list of jobs, which one aligns with your passion. No, that's not what happens. And so that goes back to what Jeff was saying. You sometimes you just got to suck it up and do what it takes to put food on the table while you're building that life. And that goes back to managing expectations, because I've heard that, after college and after leaving the military, you usually have about 3 or 4 jobs within the first year or so. You're so excited to get that first one, it's within 6 weeks you're like, oh, this culture sucks, or I don't like it. So you get this advice or this perspective that when I retire from the military, I'm going to get this job and I'm going to do that for 40 years and love it. No, you're not. No, you're not.
Tell me about it, right?
But when you can align your values, your values, and have that self-awareness, what do I love to do, what makes me come alive, then you can continually work towards that. And here's the thing about perspective that people need to understand. You have to take a macro level view. If you get out of the military, you retire at the age of 38, which I did, and it takes you, say, 4 or 5 years to begin doing what you really love to do and getting paid for it. So maybe you're at the age of 43, 44 years old. You can do that for another 30 years. It's not too late. You're just getting started. You're not too old. So be patient, manage expectations, but maybe humble yourself and get the job that sucks so you can feed your family.
Yeah, you make some good points there, man. Because a lot of times we don't have that. We don't have that, and everything to me is perspective, right? How are you perceiving what's really going on? Because a lot of times our perspective take us to places and put us in places on a journey that really not even there existing. And when we look at things in the way we do, we can create things with our mind, right? I think I was talking to someone yesterday, and we were talking on the spiritual level, and we were talking about how the power of death and life is in the power of your tongue. And it's funny how the scripture puts death before life, because a lot of things we speak out of our mouth with our tongue, we speak death to some of the processes and things that we really want to speak life to, because we speak with negativity. We speak with terms of I can't, or I haven't, or so we have to we speak in the negativeness actually in a lot of our frame of thinking. So that sets us on a journey with the ending that we haven't even taken a step in that direction. And when you think about it, when you're finding your focus, and you make some great points to Charlson, a lot of times, and you brought that right back home to me actually, because the core values of the things that I thought I knew of myself when I joined the military, I had no idea about. I adopted what they told me, and I applied them to me living. And of course, some of them were good. So I mean, it can't go without saying. Some of them was good. It taught me some discipline. It taught me, if not anything, how to obey an order. Right. I think as a kid from Chicago, I had a little hard time with that in the beginning. But it taught me some of those things in there. But Paul has had a great thing here that I want us to tap into. So he's from a military family, so he said this is close to him. He's also a career changer, so struggles sound familiar to him. But he said that, what do you guys thinking? And before I go to that next topic, I want us to hit this. What's one way a civilian like him, that we can just set him on a path right now, can better support the veteran community? Because like it's people like that want to get involved, that want to dissect, that want to, kind of like put their hands to the plow, so to speak. How can we give them some actionable things to go do, like right now, off your couch, off your seat, off this live? What you got on that, Robert?
First off, my girl, Positive Paula, love her. She helped me out with a LinkedIn hard mode challenge. So I'm going to touch on a couple things just before we move on to 2 topics. But first, Paula, what I can tell you is we need to be more open connecting to civilians. If I'm sitting there and I'm like, yeah, I did QRF and I did blah, 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 right? And we're talking amongst ourselves, we're not learning the civilian side. But if you're a civilian person and you see transitioning veteran, which we need to get rid of in our headline, and that's another story. But if you put veteran and stuff and you're a civilian and you want to support us, reach out and say, hey, no offense, can I teach you how to talk civilian? Because I know, especially if you're a Marine, you're going to have rocks in your mouth. I'll even bring crayons for you so you can have dessert. All right. So a couple things I want to touch on with the conversation we had. I love all of you, but I'm a very kick in the door type person. Jeff, he says, sit back. So that's the advice I got to getting out. All right. Sit back, let it happen, do whatever. I'm a door kicker. I'm going postal. That's my MOS. I said, I'm going to reach out to everybody. I'm going to be aggressive, I'm going to be the predator, not the prey. So I'm going to go knock on the recruiter's door. I'm going to do whatever it is and say, hey, I'm Rob Spedden, and I'm going to own this. And this is what the military taught me. If there's a problem, I'm going to attack it, just like we've always been taught, because then that's tying it into the military. Be like, ma'am, you remember 9/11? Boom, boom, boom. We came in. We didn't discuss it. We didn't sit there and have a discussion. We came in. That's what I'm going to give to you. So, Charlson, with your values, I love what you said. Oh, man, that motivated me. So I just had an interview, and this is what I can tell the younger guys to do. It's not hard. So I need to learn your guys' leadership traits, but that's what we have in the Marine Corps. So I blew the pants off this lady because she's like, how does your values align with us? Well, we have the leadership traits in the Marine Corps. So I already looked on their page, and I looked at what their values were. And of course, at least 3 of them were what we have as a Marine. So I said, I would love to work for you because your values are X, Y, Z. And in the Marine Corps, I loved X, Y, Z. And she's like, woo, woo, and it was in a sense that simple. And I think that's where we struggle transitioning. I'm this, Semper Fi. And then even as a Marine, I'm Semper Fi. Hey, I'm Semper Fi, and it doesn't mean just Marine. I'm always faithful. If you hire me, I want to be faithful to you. That puts you millions of miles ahead of a lot of people because you're not settling for that job. And that's why it struggles for me, because I admit I have no college degree. I'm terrible. That's my own choice. I have no certificates. Again, my bad. All right. I say it a lot in my videos. I got a PhD. I'm powerful, hungry, and determined. Okay. But that's where you got to learn these skills, because I was getting told what you were. And I'm not saying you guys are wrong. I appreciate it. You were the generation before me. But I was looking at slinging block. I've already called the labor union and asked to do block just so I have a guaranteed job when I get out. And I'm like, but that's not what the Marine Corps taught me. That's not what those benefit tags were that I was teaching Marines. Like, I've got to use those skills, and I need a jobby job. So I think that's where we can bring the old school, which I love, so I can learn not to be so 50 cal, and you guys can bring me down and be like, hey, calm down, Rob. But then I also bring that audience to you all, and they can see some older perspective also, because they don't know everything at 22, even though they believe they do.
I told you guys before we got on board. I added this Marine to the show. he bought his firepower. But we are talking, and to bring things into perspective, man. Rob is talking from a heart of care and a heart of passion. So it bleeds in him, and I do hear the passion and the love for the commitment of in everything that you're saying. And we've been out, yeah, we've been out a while. And I don't say that we've not. I actually think that our passion is just as formidable as the passion that you have. And Jeff, I'm gonna let you speak to this as well next, my friend. When you have those kind of things, it's all individualized. And Charleston talks about this a lot. That self awareness with the individual, because I've run across a lot of people that was hoorah, just using that term from the military perspective, and now out here they got lost. I think Alexandra mentioned a little bit about it, and I've been dealing with this with a few people here over the past. Actually, since we created this show, I've dealt with this where people have reached out, and they were saying that these kind of things. And even though he's medical discharged. He spent the last few years like let go, lost, not knowing where his place is. It's really hurt his pride. A lot of what we have done and built and cultivated and cultured in the service is, yes, so one, doing us greatness when we come out because we fortified with some talents and some directions. But secondly, it's also getting us lost as well when we come out because we don't have that. I mean, every place you go to out here, for lack of a better word, in the short step in the story, you can't kick the door down. It's not always the answer. Now, me, I'm a go getter, but what I've found from being out, I have to I have to circumvent the door getter mentality based upon whose door I'm going to. Because when I'm studying kicking down all the doors at every angle, on the other side of that door is not the reciprocation from a door knocker down. So when you get into that and you get into a transition of that and working in an environment, and myself, Jeff, and Charles have, you kind of come up with different dynamics and ways to integrate integrate that. But that passion, Rob, I love it, man. I love it. Jeff, what you feel about that, man? Jeff LaFro. Jeff's got a storm going on, guys. I'm putting him in. I'm putting him in. He got a storm out there in where he's at. So if he drops in and out, I got him. I got him in. Jeff, I don't know how much you heard of that. What I was just saying, but I was just talking about the different styles that we have, and that's why I love what we're doing now. We got these overall different perspectives of how we can get this done, and it's up to the choosing of whoever fits with whoever where we can get this done. But when you think about the aspects of the things, some of the things that Rob said, and doing that, what are some of the things that you think that we can do? If you're not a kick door down person, because you might have lost that coming out the military, you might have been lost your weight. You used to be a fire go dude. You used to be the first one through the door in all the trainings, but now you kind of like lost because you're not really sure. Like, so how do you kind of move if you kind of like in that direction?
Well, I think it's about change of pace. I think anybody can kind of apply it like this. If you're used to kicking down doors and all that stuff, and you're a go-getter, that's fine. But have you ever had to adjust fire? Have you ever had to say, okay, hold on, let's pivot and move over this way? Enemies over here. Exact same way in the civilian world. If you think about the mindset the same way. And I wasn't a door kicker, I wasn't infantry or anything like that, but I've known a lot of people who have, and I've helped a lot of people who were that. And I told them just that. Listen, you're used to going block after block, kicking in doors, but did you ever get a call to adjust fire? That's exactly what military transition is. You don't have to stop kicking doors. Maybe you have to go a block over and start kicking in those doors. So to clarify, when I said sit back and let it come to you, I didn't mean stop working. I didn't mean to take away your work ethic or anything like that. What I simply meant was have the patience and the smarts, because every single military member has it. I don't care if you're a grunt carrying a rifle or you're intel sitting up at the Pentagon. Every single one of us knows there's a point in time where sometimes you have to pause or the mission changes and you have to adjust. And that's what you have to do. I sold beer, but what I didn't tell you is that at night I was following up on emails. I was calling my buddies and stuff like that. I was constantly staying on the grind because I was like, hey, if I'm only here for 3 weeks and I get a $70,000 job, I'm leaving. I don't care how good the beer discount was. I'm leaving, So don't be afraid to adjust fire, and don't use anything else as an excuse because you've adjusted fire before. I don't care what job you've been in. And that's to everybody. I'm not singling out Rob or anything like that. But that goes for everybody. You have never been afraid to adjust fire before. Why are you afraid of doing it now?
Yeah, that's it. And Charles, I'm gonna get your take on that take as well. And I popped up our next topic because you guys are kind of alluding to that, so I just went on and threw it up there. Investigating these opportunities, right? That's just exactly what you and Robert Jeff are talking about. We got to investigate these opportunities and what they are. We can't sit back on our laurels, so to speak, because we know things aren't just going to be handed to us, right? We've all, first and foremost, we're all men, so we've been taught that by dad, pretty much. You got to go work for it, son. You got to go get it. Ain't nobody gonna give you nothing. So we already got that as a premise. We already got that as a notion. We already got that as one of our pretty basic laws of mandom, so to speak. You got to go learn. You got to go earn that thing. You got to go get it, and that's investigating the opportunities to that. And with Charles and what Jeff was saying, in the essence of you being that person and you looking for those opportunities, you're investigating those opportunities. How are well how I guess I can ask you that question and then you can carry it on from there. How are you finding that people are really investigating these opportunities because you offer services, not necessarily just blanketed to transitioning military, but in the service of your emotional intelligence, because this deals with a lot of that. I mean, individualized that self awareness, those things that you talk about. How are you sending and catering to people, such as what Paul has said, and yes, it's telling somebody, yo, this is what you can do to better support your veteran community?
Well, for me, first, first of all, just going back to what Rob was saying, it's about self awareness, and when you know who you are, then you can make those moves. And so, I wish more of us had that self awareness coming out. This is what I do. This is who I am. But a lot of times, what happens is you don't even know, right? Especially for the younger ones, right? 22, 24, 25 years old. And you're thinking, what do you like to do? I like to do what Sarge tells me to do. Like that's what you live for. I
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, I knew one guy. I knew one guy, and he was so proud of the fact. I think he just turned 22, medical discharge out of the army. He was infantry, had some training injuries and stuff. And he said, he was so proud of the fact that he could follow orders and he can obey the orders of the officers appointed over him. And I said, there are no more officers appointed over you. Like there's none left. And so that self-awareness. So when you know who you are and what you like, what your values are, when you know yourself, then you can investigate those opportunities. But like when someone says, like I appreciate what Amanda says. She says there's over 45,000 military and veteran service organizations that want to help, right? But if you don't even know what you're looking for, I call Jeff and I say, Jeff, I need a job. And Jeff says, Jeff says, what do you want to do? And I say, I want to keep practicing integrity.
Yeah, that's a tough job market.
So, yeah, that's a tough. Oh
Yeah,
wow.
so you have to have that self-awareness, and then you can investigate the opportunities because you can actually know what you're asking for.
Well, have some conversations with your fellow vets because you might not know what you want to do.
Exactly.
I love the military. I love integrity. I love following my core values. But I've been in a motor pool for the last 5 years and I'm 23 years old. I don't really want to work on cars, but I don't really know what else I want to do. Well, just have conversations. There's a platform called Veterati where you can go on to Veterati and you can find military mentors and you can just have discussions with them. It's free of charge. They're donating their time. If you need to talk to someone to bounce ideas off of their head, go talk to them. Just talk to them for free because the only way you're going to work through some of those things, and I'm sure Charleston's going to echo this, is to work through it. You might as well work through it with your fellow veterans who have a clue of what's going on. You know what I mean? Because if you don't know, you don't know. That's fine. It's okay to not know, but don't sit in the dark. There's plenty of people who want to help. There's 45,000 organizations. Yeah, not a lot of people know where to start. Come on to LinkedIn and find the first veteran that you can find and say, hey, I need to chat. And if they say no or I can't have time, move on to the next one. But I know tons of people on this platform that just want to talk and are willing to donate the time.
They're really to get that. They're really to get that in, and I want to drop this in for us to think about as well. And we probably all experienced this, right? When I got to the basic, well, before basic, when I went at this point in time, way back in that time, they used to have we used to be in the little strips, and they had the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, and the Marines. For most places, I don't even know if they have it set up like that now. But they used to have the little enlistment spots where you used to go and talk to the recruiters, right? So I never forget a day at I think it was like a sophomore high school, and me and my cousin, we both were sophomores, and we both was going to the same high school, and we was looking for something to do because we wasn't ready to go to college, and we knew playing sports we wasn't really good enough to be looking at on that next level. And he was like, I was like, we gonna flip a coin. This is a true story. This is how I got in the army. We gonna flip a coin, and we flipped a coin, and the place where we went, they had the Army recruiter little station there, and they had the Marine recruiter little station there. And me and him flipped a coin. We flipped a quarter, and we said heads or tails, or whichever one we picked. That we said tails was the Army, heads was the Marines. And whichever one we chose, that's where we were going in. Now we were just going in really to get information and see, what it took. And we went in there, and I flipped, and I said, I said heads, and heads we had chosen to be Army. So I went into the Army one, and he picked the Marine one. And we went in there. We both went in there, and we went our separate times. I dropped this at the foot of the recruiters, right? Because when I went in there, he gave me a booklet, a pamphlet, and he told me two things that encouraged my decision. Neither one was the guidance of what I wanted to do for my future. They were based upon me as a Chicago kid coming in. Where did I want to get out of first? And he told to me two things. I told him I was interested in law at the time. Yeah, I still had that interest. I'm still following that now. I told him I had an interest in law. He didn't show me anything concerning that. He said I was a kid. He said, I know you're ready to get out of Chicago because I was ready to. And these are some of the ways that I took. So I said, okay, well, if he's here and he got a path, listen to it. You know what he told me? He said, you need more money. He's saying, you know what pays more money? You get more money for basic and AIT if you go into infantry, armor, or fighting MOS. And I was like, me, okay, 16, 17-year old. You talking about money, you start hollering them bonuses. I said, oh, cool. Why not just go in M1 and be a tanker? When I graduate, I get an $8,000 bonus. See, I am a 16-year-old. $8,000 to me sounded like $1,000,000. So I picked that. There was no discussion to me about future. There was no discussion with me about what did I really want to do. And I dropped that at the recruiters because a lot of times, well, it may not be the case now. It's been a long time ago. The recruiters was about the numbers and getting them enlistments and getting them in, right? So we have that kind of platform, man. How do we fully have these people that don't know to have these discussions? How do we fully put to them to investigate these opportunities? Go ahead, Rob.
You gonna push the recruiter switch too? Okay, so
Yeah,
before we get on
man.
the recruiter switch,
I'm gonna
before
put
we
it.
get on
I'm
the
gonna
recruiter
put it
switch,
on it. I'm gonna put
because
it
that's
on
my
them.
love and heart. Here's what I want to say before I go forward, just because we all have our different brands, right?
Yes.
I'll be honest. I don't want to disrespect the grunts. I'm a stamp
Yo,
licker. I'm
don't
postal.
disrespect the
So don't
grunts,
call me
man.
a door kicker.
I'll
But
run
Jeff,
you
like I
over.
love your
I'll run you over
style.
with my tank, man. Don't disrespect the grunts.
But I'm saying, like, I love your style, Jeff, because the whole point of social media is you have a different style than me. I'm coming kick you in the face, right? And you may not be kicked in the face. So now today, somebody somewhere, especially someone on TikTok or whatever, might be inspired to talk to me, but I'm a little rough. I can be like, hey, Jeff is this. He's a great guy. Me and him are connected because we're vets, go vets go. And then that's why I have Operation LinkedIn. And it's not about me. It's us doing what we learned in the military. I can't fight on the ground if the Air Force isn't blowing up before I get there. I can't ride, right, if the Navy isn't getting me out there. And I can't get Wi-Fi unless the Army set it up. So we all work together and bring our skills. And because I'm a comedian and I want to be a motivational comic, try to be one of the first, this is what it is. Like, I bring that style, but it's not going to work. Now, as far as recruiters, I just got through talking to 2 recruiters that were my poolees. The one recruiter that I talked to, he said, I need you to get on the phone and teach my new recruiter how to sell, because he can't seem to sell anything. He's definitely not going to sell ice in those bad places. So he sits there and I put him on. I said, hey, I'm not trying to brag, but I'm a pretty good recruiter. I was recruiter of the year. That's why I put award winning, blah, blah, blah. I hate you got to do titles on LinkedIn, but whatever. It makes you bigger. So he gets on there and I said, sell me. And it's what you just said. So he starts going through a spiel and I go, stop. I just started yelling at him because, a little bit of a Marine. And I go, you just sold me all tangible skills. I can walk you over to the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy, and you get it all day, every day. Why do you want to be a Marine? We are a Marine first. You want to go get your job. I can tell you right now, because I did it as a recruiter, I will walk you over to the Navy and they will get you the job that you want. And I am not going to hate you, because there's people right now that'll put you in the comment section that they're Navy, their Air Force, their Army. Like, there's an Army cat out there that he got his job because the Army wasn't going to give his job to him. And I said, tell him you're going to come with me. And the Army guy was like, oh, like, we're not going to have him go to the Marines. So it's screening those guys, and recruiters got to do a better job of basically psychologically screening who you got. There is no hate on any of you guys. We're here in the fight together. But Marines, we brag that we are first to fight, that if a bomb goes off, we're going to kick in the door. So if that kid comes in and he's like, hey man, I just want college and I just want that. Okay, well, the Air Force is pretty freaking smart. They're really smart. So have you thought about them and they can do this? Or, go to the Navy. They got submariners and all that. But I'm telling you, man, I need you to be willing to put boots on ground. And if you're here for any other reason, I love you and I will support you. And you can always message me, but not. I feel like we're the Alabama of the recruiting thing. So we shouldn't be soft selling somebody. And that's hurting our recruiters and they're not going home. And it's teaching those skills also for when they go out. That's why I say be aggressive. You aggressively came into my recruiting office. You screamed, aye, aye, sir. And you did that in boot camp like a crazy person. Now when you get out, soften it up. The other thing that Jeff pointed out that I love is I'm an OIF vet. I absolutely love what he said. Yes, I'm aggressive, but I learned the 3-block war. So sometimes I'm on here and my persona is what I want it to be. I'm right? You guys are like, wow, he's wound up. I had to have coffee because it's only 6:23 here in Hawaii. But when I get off here, I'm going to drop into people's DMs and be that 3-block war. Can I shake hands? Can I kiss baby? Alexandria, you put a thing that your brother is struggling after there. You're going to see me get into your inbox and see if I can do some of my motivational stuff, you know, and I hate I got to bring it up in today's time, what I'm doing behind closed doors, but to protect myself until I get a bigger community, I've got to show that, but I still do the like shake hands, kiss babies. I'll do the toys for tots because that's what Marines do too. So I can hug your child, but I can also defend you when the time comes. And I think all of us can do it. And plus, I got Mr. Preacher Man there. I told him, forgive me for what I've sinned. I showed him one of my videos. And it's like, so that's that different genre too. Like, ooh, he's offensive. Let me get you Mr. Preacher Man. He gonna get you. So in today's world, we can do more than we ever could before.
Yes, and we definitely have a lot of opportunities, man. I told you guys I was gonna love this guy, Robert, man. Bring a little sauce. You need a little sauce in a spicy life, Charlson. And you investigating these opportunities, man. I'm gonna take us to our next one because this we have really kicked the door down on this conversation today, man. I appreciate everybody that has came by and dropped in the comments. Amanda, I appreciate you as always. Love seeing you here on a weekly basis, giving us these facts, dropping in the comments and the discussion. We definitely need to have you on as well. Don't know what your schedule looking like, but we love to have guests on to kind of chop it up and talk about it. Alexandra as well. We thank you and Jeff. To Charlson to hit this last point. And this was a point that I really thought about there. I think that we really done after we've investigated all these opportunities that you guys have talked about in all of these ways for these transitions to take place and for you to find this passion and this purpose. And I think we've really covered it, even though we're talking about it. It's always addressing the military culture. I think we've addressed it so much and fully that anyone with any culture can take what we've talked about today and it can be applicable to you in any style, fashion, form, or whatever way that you want to do it in. You know what I mean? If you want to kick down the doors like Rob and you kick them doors down, and you got some people on the other side that's going to give you the thing you need if you want to do it. And I call Jeff the smooth operator. You want to do it that smooth way, put that in, put that gear in, shift it in, pivot, change. He got it right there. And then Charles is going to hit you up with the emotional intelligence of it all. Have you self-aware with the decision? And Rob has already done me the preacher, man. So I guess I don't have nowhere but to carry it but to the preachership, right? But Charlson, when we've evaluated all of this, man, and our next thing is to pursue. Where do we go from here? With just some of the things that we've learned and discussed today, man, and evaluation of that and actually pursuing that next move. What are some of the things that you think that we can take from what we learned today, man, and put in some actionable steps?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say when you say evaluate and pursue, the first thing I'm going to say, and I'm not going to surprise you with this, is evaluate yourself. That's where you got to start.
I thought she would say that, man. I thought she would say that. I don't know why I was expecting anything else, right?
Well, yeah, because the thing about it, evaluate. You might have been a very good platoon sergeant, but the job that you're applying for isn't looking for a platoon sergeant. Evaluate yourself. And then when we're talking about pursuing opportunities is about the process. And I'm not talking about applying for 85 jobs that you think might be a fit. I'm talking about, like we've already said, right? The LinkedIn connections on other social media, what organizations are out there, and really just getting to know what's available that aligns with who you are. Because what you don't want to do, which happens so often with veterans, is you get the first shiny job you can find and you're miserable. And if you haven't fully evaluated yourself, you actually blame yourself for being miserable. Because you think that, right? You bring your military bearing, your military culture with you, and you think that, oh, something's wrong with me. I'm not obedient enough. I'm not committed to the mission enough, and all this other crap, when in reality, you're not in a platoon anymore. You're not in a flight anymore. You're in an office of 7 people, and 3 of them don't like you because they're jealous because they couldn't join the military. So you have to know who you are. You have to evaluate more than just the job posting.
Man, I think, whoa, Rob, you done rubbed off, man. Charlson hitting him. hitting them hard, man.
Hey, can I toss something in there?
Yeah, toss a little bit of that, man. Jeff, I'm how you close us out with your perspective, man.
So I know Jeff's going to close us out. I want to say first, I'm humbly appreciate you guys putting me on this show. But I had to follow it in there because I love it. It goes back to what Operation LinkedIn is. I don't want that guy jealous. I want that guy to know he's now become a part of the family. When I come in, my family is to protect and serve this nation, not to protect and serve the United States Marine Corps. I'm here to protect and serve the Constitution. I am here to help you. Grandma, you can't get across the street because you need your groceries held. I've got you. That is how I am. So when I come into your office, yes, I am a United States Marine. Whatever, okay? I need to yell that for some reason. But what do you need help with? That's why it goes back to the door kicker. Hey, my boss sucks, blah, blah, blah. Who's your boss? Who's your boss? And I'll
Rob, I got to ask you one question, Rob. Did you order the code red?
Oh, man. If you look at one of my...
I couldn't resist that one, man. You
Oh,
ordered the
man.
code red, man. Just tell us you ordered the code red, man.
You can't handle the truth.
Hey, that was priceless, man. I could not do that, man. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Rob. Go ahead, man.
But that's what I mean. We have our roles. So now Susie, Sally, Jimmy, whoever it is, because we're talking about the Great Resignation. We're talking about that. Well, this is where us as military members can have a purpose. So again, Jeff could go at a smooth operator. Hey, the boss sucks. I'll go talk to him. Like, hey, I'm gonna Air Force him up. Nothing bad, and Jeff will help you. Or, hey, we need the Marine, and the Marine's gonna go knock on the door and be like, I don't know who you are, but have you seen my LinkedIn? So catch me outside. I'll get you on TikTok and show you're a terrible person. You need to treat these people like humans and not have your title in your lofty office. If you want to help us and make you stay with the business, sometimes you need to drink coffee with us, because that's what I learned in the Marine Corps. Because when General Mattis is willing to stand my duty, the big mad dog, and there's no reason he needs to, that's why us as Marines think he's Saint Mattis. So you be Saint Amazon or whatever you want and go shake my hand. So that's what I'm bringing to the table. And again, thank you all for giving me an opportunity.
No problem, Rob. We appreciate you, man. We appreciate you, Jeff. Hit your dates, evaluate and pursue, man. I like what Charles said, dropping them gems, man. But what you think about that? And then I'm gonna give each one of you guys opportunity to tell us what you're doing and how people could find you, man, so you can continue on and helping people out, man.
So I really think, again, going back to having an open mind, don't be afraid to pursue and evaluate other things. Maybe something that you wouldn't have normally have done. Like, again, I sold beer. I would have never have done that, but it was an option, and it worked out because it gave me time to grow while still putting money in the bank account, food on the table. But also, don't be afraid to reach out for help, and don't be afraid to look at new avenues, and understand this. Corporations on the outside of the world understand there's turnover. So if you take a job and you're only there for a month or two, they're not crying over you leaving. They're putting the job ad online or in the newspaper as you're walking out the door. You know what I mean? If they haven't done it already. Because it's not that they don't have an interpersonal relationship with you, but they understand business and that people leave all the time. This is not back in the 60s and 70s, even 80s, where people were career folks at big corporations or even small companies. That, I don't want to say loyalty, but like that dedication to one spot isn't there as much anymore. It still is. It's just not as often. People like change. People are saying, I want to go do new things, or I want to go over to this company and check them out. That's fine. Don't be afraid to do that. And don't be afraid to evaluate your options and have discussions with other people and say, hey, but you got to do what's best for you. Number one, don't have feelings towards one thing. I told my wife this, she went to work for an emergency room, and then a dermatology job came up, and she's like, I just started there, but this great opportunity came up. I was like, what are you going to do? You're going to wait around for somebody else to take that dermatology job that's your dream job because you're afraid to go tell the ER you're going to quit? Go quit. If you have a great option, evaluate it and say, I got to go do what's best for me. This is a great option for me, and I'm going to fit in well there. Go. So don't be afraid to have those discussions and do that evaluation and that analysis and make an educated decision for yourself, because somebody else is going to do it. You might as well do it too. Yeah, because if not, you're going to get left behind. And then you're going to be selling beer as a career job, and you're going to be 15 years in making the same amount of money saying, I missed out on a lot of opportunities because why? So don't be afraid to evaluate, pursue, have discussions, and make decisions, make bold decisions, because you're capable of making bold decisions. You did it while you were wearing camouflage.
Absolutely. Jeff, man, tell us, man, where we can reach you, man. I'm gonna put your LinkedIn up here, but just give us a quickness of what you got going on, man, and where people can find you and what you're doing, man. Yeah, also podcast. I tell you guys that I was on this podcast. I had the pleasure of sitting here with Jeff, man, and he does some amazing interview, and I'm looking for him to be on and be on there next to Rogan after a while and on Spotify, man. Just looking forward to signing these big contracts, man. Tell us where we can reach out to you, Jeff, and get some of the stuff that you got going on, man.
So I'm not as active on LinkedIn as I used to be, but all my social links and stuff like that are on there as well. You can go to jeffclarkofficial.com, and that's where you can find out a whole bunch of other stuff. You can look up the Course of Action podcast on any of the favorite platforms and on YouTube. Just had a great discussion with Michelle Black. That episode is out now. She's a Gold Star widow of OGA 3212, that Niger ambush. So that was a great discussion. Hit me up on Veterati or anything like that. Really jeffclarkofficial.com is where you can branch off from everything else.
Put that in the comments for me, Jeff. I'm gonna have that in here for next week's show. Make sure we have that in there. Make sure the guests be able to reach out with you on that link. Charlson, man, I got your stuff in here, man. I know this is your LinkedIn, man, and where they can reach you. And tell us a little bit about what you got going on as well, my friend.
Well, I'm the emotional intelligence life coach, but I also have the Cope Life podcast. And when I talk about a Cope Life, I'm talking about a life lived with kindness, optimism, positivity, and empathy. Right. And so when we bring that to every situation, we position ourselves, honestly, we position ourselves to win, because we're bringing the right mindset and perspective. We're not bringing a fear response. Right. And so what my podcast is, and if you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll see that my podcast is every Friday afternoon. And I bring in guests who have experienced some sort of tragedy or some sort of obstacle or something, and they were able to overcome it. And so this Friday, I'm going to have this guest, Carol. She was actually in the Coast Guard. And she said that she experienced some form of sexual harassment continuously the whole time, which is why she didn't stay in, even though she loved the Coast Guard and she loves being on the water. And the reason we're focused on that is because it was just signed into law, I think last week, that sexual harassment is going to be a violation under the UCMJ in the military. So I want to hit that point. But yeah, follow me on LinkedIn, connect with me, watch my podcast, and then let's grow and let's see if I can provide you some real value.
Yes, absolutely, man. We're
And then,
gonna cover it.
and
Go ahead,
that
I'm
real
sorry.
quick, that link that you're just posting right now, that
Yes.
/code
Tell us
life,
about that link, man.
that's my free ebook, Leveraging Self-Awareness. So when I talk about self-awareness, I'm talking about your emotions. I'm talking about your biases, your strengths, your weaknesses, the way that you can evaluate your overall mindset. It's all in there. Download the free self-awareness ebook.
Man, awesome, man. And we're gonna send it back around because we had our brother Rob join us in today, man. Rob, I appreciate you, man, taking time out. I know I got you up early. Tell them what time that you had to show up for this show, man.
Actually, I got up at 04:30 so I could mentally prep. When it's a war, I got to prep. I had to go over the scouting and everything. So
He was already doing push-ups by 4:50.
well,
Yeah,
you know what? Hey, I jumped out of bed and the devil said, "Uh-oh." So it is what it is. And I said, "Hey, I got the preacher today, so we're about to rock it."
Rob, I got your LinkedIn on there, man, and where people can come and find you, man. But talk a little bit, give us a couple seconds on that, man. We went over today, but it's lovely, man, because we talked about some good stuff today. Tell us quickly about that Operation LinkedIn, man, and what you. I hope I put that in correctly, Operation LinkedIn, and tell us what you really trying to do with that, man.
So I've got 2 points I want to hit on, and I'm gonna bring my level down. Charleston hit something that's near and dear to me. In a perfect world, in the Marine Corps that I so love, even though I'm getting out, I am, and I can leave the Marine Corps, I'm fine. I tell kids that it's my offensive line and I'm going to be the Tom Brady. Like the Marine Corps is a freaking offensive line and it's going to be the Tom Brady up in here, but actually it'll be the first Rob Spedden. But in my ultimate life is you guys, some of you guys are so sweet and you guys have some awesome, awesome causes. And I love the empathetic dude. I do. I love the empathy. I just want to hug you virtually. But we know the world that we live in. We do. Call a spade a spade. And that's why I'm saying if you see some of the posts I have, I do it on purpose because I need you to be empathetic and I love you and I want us to be aligned. But if you want to be the one publicly, I always say the rule, publicly, so you get on the comments here, you decide you want to jump on Rob Spedden's like page and give a comment and say I'm belligerent, blah, blah, blah. Hey, it's 2022, dog. I will screenshot it and I will fly it up and be like, I am not the one. So I want people to feel comfortable on this, whatever they are, TikTok, Instagram, whatever you are, right? That you can freely speak, but then you guys are empathetic, can continue to be. And if you got to throw up the red cluster, right? Or call for the code red, right? I'll answer the call. But behind scenes, I love you all. The other one I want to point out is you guys got my LinkedIn profile and I'm going to just throw it out there. I don't care if it's shade or it's not shade. The thing I'm about is all I need you to do is push the stupid connect button. I will teach you about personal invite, but I swear on everything, if one more vet says, I need you to personal invite, dude, I just got out. I just got out of like the transition thing and they told me make a LinkedIn and I saw me and you were vets and I hit connect and you're like, no, that's what we do. We reach out. So for me, I don't care. And I just had a girl from UC Irvine. She's about to try to put me on Read It because I met her on TikTok. So again, that's what Operation LinkedIn is for. She's like really nervous on her TikTok and she's doing the like, I'm going to break out. I'm going to finally do stuff. And I'm like, I got you, girl. I got you. I see you hustling. Right. And so now I have a purpose. I got a purpose and I'm about to drop my pack in 60 days. And I am not feeling suicidal or losing my mind like a lot of these guys are on this space and everywhere else because I have found my purpose. And I am so glad to be a part of you guys and anybody that's watching it and they want me to come on. I hope you guys notice I am real. I am somewhat in your face. Come on, Joe Rogan, let's do this.
Man, this has been phenomenal, man. This has been one of the greatest hours that I had in such a long time, man. And we talked about a lot of things from different perspective. And this was my mind thinking in the essence of starting this show. I wanted to get this dialogue started with some people that have been there, done that, and are continually to build on where they are. It's something like experience, man. I know a lot of people say experience the best teacher. I can tell you from experiencing a lot of things, I've learned more from experiencing things than I have from someone that told me about some things. And I think my perspective of actually experiencing is what gives me the credibility to pass it on to someone else. Because I can say I've been through it, right? We count that confidence as someone to be confident in and say, if you went over there, I can't tell you to go over there and I haven't went over there, right? I can't tell you what it takes to even go over there if I haven't went over there. So I built this space and with the help of Charlson and Jeff and Rob adding on too as well. We built this safe space so where you guys can come talk, have a perspective, join the discussion, and just feel free to let's do it. We're addressing issues, we're talking about steps and solutions, and we're leaving it up to you to do action. Those are the CTAs. We're giving it to you. So like Jeff said, you got to go find it. You got to investigate. You got to look at the opportunities. You got to take it. You got to take the blinders off. Whether you do it with Rob kicking in the door, you do it with Charleston with that emotional intelligence, you do it with Jeff, you know what I'm saying, with the pivoting and go about it, it's a smoothness. Or if you just do it with me, I just facilitate the action. I love what I'm hearing, right? So you can check me out on LinkedIn as well. Never leave me out the program. You can check me out on LinkedIn. Go find out. I'll tell you how to get in touch with that vulnerable side, that side you've been hiding because the military taught you how to hide it, right? I'll tell you how to embrace that and move forward into the next phase of your life because you're definitely going to have a next phase, especially if you're transitioning. I appreciate you, brother, so much, man. I'm telling you, it's much love. We got much love in the comments. Make sure you guys go back and check that out. You know what I'm saying? And check out these people, engage these people. Make sure that they know what you guys are doing because a lot of them are following you. Make connections with them. Like Rob said, if it ain't on this platform, all of these gentlemen got other platforms. Hook them up, see what they're doing, and we appreciate it, man. Much love to you guys. I'll see you guys next week. It's a cursor to what we bringing up there. Charlson talked about a little bit. Next week, when we talk about that sexual harassment in the military. Yeah, we gave y'all a little love on today's episode. But next week, we're going to talk a little bit about that sexual harassment. Is that really a law that's going to be enforced? Are we still really hiding those things? You know what I mean? So we're going to dive into that, man. So until next week, man, I appreciate all you, brethren. Y'all have a safe rest of your weekend. And we see you guys here next Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. where we just addressing the military culture, man. You guys have a great one.